Hi, thank you for watching Digging to China. I'm Dong Xiang. Disney is so hopeful about opening up Chinese market, the world's second largest movie market, through Shang-Chi. Disney put a positive gloss on Chinese culture in the $150 million film with an all-Asian principal cast lead feature. Parts of the film are spoken in Mandarin. Some critics call it a breakthrough for Marvel. Most Chinese viewers who have seen the films abroad highly praised Shang-Chi. They post positive reviews, some going so far as to call it the most respectful treatment of Chinese culture coming from a Western production they've seen in years. One moviegoer wrote, "I didn't see any insulting of China. I saw kissing up to China." But this breakthrough could be a possible massive blow to Disney and the Marvel studio. Chinese officials are entertaining the idea of banning Shang-Chi from their theaters. Shang-Chi is the first Marvel film not to be granted approval for distribution in China and only the second not to be released in the country. Since 2012's release of The Avengers, China has been the second highest grossing box office for all Marvel movies, just behind the US and Canada. For the 2019 release of Avengers Endgame, Disney scheduled a debut for domestic and Chinese audiences on the same weekend. The result was the highest opening weekend haul in cinematic history. Over its run, 22% of ticket sales came from China. Chinese authorities are reportedly concerned about the origins of the main character, Shang-Chi, which was created by writer Steve Englehart and artist Jim Starlin in 1973. Initially, the main character was the son of the fictional supervillain Fu Manchu. But several years later, Marvel Comics lost the rights to the Fu Manchu name, and the character's father was renamed as Zheng Zhu. But in the movie, the character is named Xu Wenwu. This is what Chinese officials frowned upon. The Fu Manchu character was created by writer Sax Rohmer in the 1920s and was meant to embody the Eastern devilry and the unemotional cruelty of the Chinese people. One Chinese critic said, "Fu Manchu is a treacherous representation of the yellow peril stereotype. Chinese audiences cannot accept a prejudiced character." This obviously caught Marvel off guard. Marvel chief Kevin Feige even said it is offensive to claim that the film's new Xu Wenwu character is anything like Fu Manchu, and Xu Wenwu isn't really even a villain per se. As a matter of fact, the Marvel team worked hard to eliminate any negative references to China before production even began. Other than the origins of Fu Manchu, some Chinese critics were not happy that Marvel cast Canadian actor Simu Liu in the lead role. Why? Because Simu is not Chinese enough for them. Isn't Simu Chinese? Yes, he was born in China but has lived in Canada since age 5. Some social media users in China unearthed what Simu Liu said in the past as insults China. For such critics, even a light-hearted GQ video about Liu's favorite Asian snack is evidence of his offensive politics. In the clip, Liu praised a lemon tea drink made by Hong Kong beverage firm Vitasoy. He likely didn't know that 2 months ago, millions of outraged mainland consumers had called for a boycott of the company for being anti-China, against the backdrop of recent pro-democracy protests. The company had expressed condolence to the family of a Hong Kong employee who stabbed a police officer and then died by suicide. In today's political climate in China, this kind of accusations could potentially lead to the ban of the star, the movie he anchors, and even future franchise films in which his character appears. Chinese netizens found a 2017 interview in which Liu discussed his family's immigrant background in a video celebrating Canada's 150th anniversary. In the interview, Liu said, "When I was young, my parents would tell me these stories about growing up in communist China, where you had people dying of starvation. They lived in the third world. They thought of Canada as this pipe dream, as this place where they could go to be free and to create a better life for their kid." What Simu said was absolutely true, because I said the same thing to my kids. In May, top Chinese officials and the state media outlets themselves spoke and wrote extensively about China's past period of hunger as they eulogized the Chinese scientist Yuan Longping, who famously developed the strains of high-yield rice that helped the country overcome years of famine. While Liu's references to China's past poverty are decried as slander, official references are encouraged as part of the narrative of how Communist Party leadership has brought the country prosperity. What an irony. I strongly believe those Chinese officials who work in censorship bureaus are secretly hoping their kids can live in the countries like Canada or the United States. Maybe their kids are already living abroad. I don't know for sure. Disney must feel very bad now. It has actively courted China for this film and paid tribute to aspects of its rich culture. Last year, Disney had a high hope for Mulan. It bent over backwards to please Chinese authorities with Mulan. Marvel even passed the script by some Chinese critics before filming began, and alterations were made to appease them. Then, Disney shot large portions of the film in China's Xinjiang province. Instead of gaining favor with Chinese moviegoers, Disney ended up on the receiving end of criticism in the West for having filmed in the province so connected to China's Uyghur slave labor camps. When Mulan finally showed in Chinese theaters, it flopped, and it had nothing to do with politics. Chinese viewers dubbed it the worst Mulan in history, saying that it feels wooden and offensively inauthentic. One of the most popular reviews read like this: "The Americans invited all the famous Chinese actors they could think of and piled together all the Chinese elements that they could find to create this car crash. It's full of Western stereotypes and conjectures about China, and particularly ancient China." Shang-Chi is the opposite of Mulan. As China's box office hits new lows, numerous Chinese industry players are watching bitterly while the film rakes in ticket sales and acclaim abroad. Chinese fans are criticizing the hypocrisy of knee-jerk nationalist denunciations that have left China without a piece of the action. Simu Liu himself has made an effort to reach out to viewers across the Pacific. On Instagram, he wrote in both English and Chinese, "Thanks to all the Marvel fans in China. We love you." Liu also criticized the polarizing media narratives. He said, "What Western news often fails to report on is the absolute groundswell of support that we've received from all parts of the world, including people from China." He concluded, "Whether you seek positivity or toxicity on social media, you will find it." Now that is superhero-like. Thank you for watching. Please leave a comment and subscribe to my channel. Just click the subscribe button right here. I'll see you again shortly.